What? Whoa. Hey, Brian, are you there? I think we're back.
I'm here. I'm here, dude.
Holy crap. Live stream. It is a Monday night live stream here at A World of Weird. Glad you guys have decided to come back. Let me explain what happened. We missed a show last week. It's been the first show we missed since we started back up this year, and the reason was last Sunday had a pretty good storm, little micro crazy super. I hadn't seen winds like that maybe once in my life before, and that was here in Tennessee as well. When I saw winds like that, it was just like straight line winds across my front yard. I think they said it was like 65 miles an hour, and I had just stepped out on the porch. I was fixing to go smoke a joint on my porch, right? And just look out. It's that time of the evening where the sun's kind of hitting my porch about 7 o'clock, sunset. But, man, that storm just popped up. Winds I just watched it. Big old branches ripped off the tree. Big old tree down the street. Long story short, nailed across the whole street and took down both sides of the road's utility poles. So there was no electricity for about it was from, I think it happened. What time did that come through, Brian? It was like 7, wasn't it? 6:30 or 7.
It was right on. Right in time to mess up our schedule.
Right, and it was like 2 hours or an hour, 2 hours before. Anyway. So utilities, the power was off until 4 o'clock that morning, and the internet didn't come back on till I didn't have internet till midday Tuesday. So we have fiber. The reason it took so long is we're not on cable. I have fiber internet here, so they had to re-splice some fiber, and that takes a second. But yeah, so that's why we missed one. I was gonna try to pick it up during the week, but that day I missed the internet. And my job's dependent on the internet because we throw files back and forth, editing stuff. All depends on uploading and downloading, and so I got behind just from that one day, and it was just hit the ground running. It was my decision. Brian was raring to go, but it's my decision not to do one till tonight. So here we are tonight. Brian, how's it going?
Hey, it's going.
Brian's tired, man. Folks. Brian's tired.
COVID-19.
Brian does not have COVID-19. Brian is tired from working all day today. He has 2 jobs. He's full-time worker and full-time dad. So he has 2 very intense jobs.
It's nuts.
But yeah. So I appreciate you doing it tonight. Brian wanted to do it last night, but you know what? My brain was fried. I think I would have just completely lashed out at the entire planet. I kind of wish we did do it last night, but it could have been great. Cool. But I still kind of halfway. I feel a lot better today since waking up and getting a reboot of my brain. I woke up, pretty good mood. Had some fun work to do, so it always helps. So here we are, and tonight's show, what we were going to do last week was UFOs. One of my most favorite topics of all time. The thing that first drew me to listening to midnight over the night radio, listening to Coast to Coast, was the UFO stories. Things I always from a small child liked the idea of extraterrestrials. Watching Cosmos on PBS when I was a kid. I was lucky enough to have a parent that kind of made me watch it. Or watched it with me.
Really?
I'd say that. Watched it with me. Cosmos, as it came on. I mean, not reruns. I mean, as it came on every week. We watched the series, and it was kind of life-changing, man. Kind of, expand your mind, man. Carl Sagan. But he wasn't quite that hippy dippy, but he probably would be to people think about him today anyway. Anyway, oh yeah, and I lived in a place where there was a lot of military aircraft. Anybody that's ever spent any time in San Diego, it all will tell you that there's frequent sonic booms. You never hear a sonic boom around here.
But no, you don't.
But
hey, you remember that show Sightings?
Yeah.
From the early '90s,
yeah,
mid '90s.
Yes.
That was really got me into all this stuff a lot more, and it was
like
always really crazy. Some scary stuff on there. Some weird recreations of abductions and ghosts and everything.
That was like came on. It was like they started playing. That show came up after like the X-Files was a hit. It seemed like.
Yeah, somewhere around that time. And
there was a lot of big revival.
I like that one.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like the golden age of UFOs was the 90s, where the big UFO revival came, and it went from 50s to 90s. I don't know. I guess there's been UFOs all through the years, though, but it seemed like it really, as the internet grew, and as media grew and more channels and more everything else, definitely seemed to proliferate more just all over the place. But I've always really enjoyed it, and I really am interested in it, and I'm really interested in the whole idea of it. What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen? Have you ever had to see any kind of weird? I know you have.
Oh yeah.
What's the weirdest thing
like
you've
a UFO?
Mm-hmm.
Like I did see one time like an orb, like it looked like it was about 4 or 5 feet circumference, just a sphere, and was just kind of a chrome type, metallic look to it, just kind of floating, hovering, kind of over a it was a building, but it was like a 1-story building. Wasn't too tall, just an average shop.
Where was it?
That was here in Jackson, in town, on a Saturday afternoon or something. I think but it's been a long time. That's been like 15 years ago.
So it was like a glowing orb, and you saw it during like the afternoon daylight?
Yeah, just like in the afternoon.
That's pretty crazy.
It was weird. That's the only thing I've ever seen.
I had a daylight daylight UFO sightings, and I don't know if this is. I think this was. I don't know, man. I don't know if I imagined this or it was real, but it was pretty damn vivid. And the reason why I question that I may have imagined it, because it was such a clear. My mom was driving. We had a big car. I always rode the back seat. It was a giant car. Anyway.
Yeah.
And I would always look up. There's a lot of hills in San Diego, and where I lived, Point Loma and other areas. But there was a lot of hills, and we were going over the hill, and I don't know how old I was, but I was pretty young. Do you remember the show Space 1999?
Yeah.
Okay, remember those those ships, a very iconic looking ship, right?
Yeah.
I even had the toy as a kid. And okay, well it didn't look like that, but it looked like it was designed by the same. It had the same kind of front end on it. It had a black windshield on it, but it had a different body on it. There was no feet on it like the Space 99 one. It almost looked like one of the weird Star Wars. This is before Star Wars came out, but it almost looked like one of the Star Wars. Not the X-Wings, but like the bomber-looking things. This is some nerd shit I'm talking about now. But they had the X-Wings, and then they had the bomber things, the bigger ones. Like it looked like kind of like that, but it looked like it was
shuttle thing
almost, but with a longer, weirder body.
Yeah.
But it was all kind of just cut up, and it was white or off-white or like eggshell looking color with just the only other color on it was the black. I could tell it was a windshield, or I don't know what I was looking at, but it was just up above a tree line way over a hill. I don't know if it was a remote control thing. It couldn't have been a balloon. It didn't look huge. I can't tell because I was a kid, but I remember seeing it. I can remember seeing it today. I can remember the kind of trees that was above. And we were like getting over the top of a hill, and then we went over the hill, and I couldn't see it anymore.
It's just weird.
In the daylight, in the daytime, blue sky. I mean, just clear as day.
Was it? You think it was? I mean,
I thought
it was like hovering over.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't moving. It didn't seem like it was moving. We were moving, the tree lines were moving, but it didn't seem like it was moving, or if it was super slow. It seemed like it was hovering. And the only thing I've ever seen back then that hovered that was small was an RC helicopter, and those things blew out all kinds of smoke, and they were loud as shit, and it didn't look like that. And I've seen, I saw one of those when I was a kid as well, and they're loud and smoky back then. They're much more refined now, of course, with drones. Yeah. But that was my daylight sighting, so I don't know what it really was, but that's some crazy looking shit. I'll never forget it.
That's pretty weird. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did see an orb, like a shiny orb, but that's it. That's the only thing I can say about it.
Were you sober?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you don't drink, so it couldn't have been that.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I guess we really saw it because it was a couple other people saw it too, so.
Really? So driving down the street, other people saw it?
Yeah. So.
How did it come back around to you that other people saw it?
Well, I mean, I know they were with me.
Oh, so, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So they were in the car, but we saw it. I'm just like, that's really weird. That's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah.
We just went home because there was really, I mean.
So is your family or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Will they submit to a polygraph? No, I'm just kidding. Will they submit to a polygraph? Turn volume up, please. My phone sucks. Okay, let me see what I can do there. Check. Sorry, I was checking, trying to see to get the volume up. I hope that helps. Speak up, Brian.
Hey. Check.
Check. All right. Yeah, that sounds a little better in my headphones. It's hard to hear in here. Sorry, guys, if that was too low. You missed all those pearls of wisdom. Not really. Oh, yeah, I meant to say welcome back to the shittiest. I think, Brian, we're talking about this might be the shittiest show on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is.
We're consistently shitty. That's one, part of the battle.
Yeah. Hey, we work really hard at making it this horrible.
It takes a lot of time and talent to make something this shitty. But yeah, next, hey, I remember I was telling you about, I think our other live stream. I don't even know if this went up or not, but I guess it was a month ago or a week. It was right before the whole fucking quarantine. Check this out. This is my new, I just made a new conspiracy. This was right before, this was like a week before the whole lockdown, the global lockdown, the global shutdown, the great global shutdown of COVID-19. Anyway, dude, I was standing outside. It was right after we did the show. It was a Sunday night. We recorded it, but I stepped outside and up in my driveway. I just look, and sometimes I just look up. I got a big patch of sky there, and from east, it was going like kind of southeast to northwest across the sky, and it was an orange light, and it looked like it was orange. It looked like maybe two orange. It was very weird. It was orange. No flashing, no strobes, no normal plain stuff. and it was hauling ass. It went from my whole patch of sky I can see pretty far back east.
Hmm.
It went probably just went. I'm trying to time it, but I'm going to use my arm and reach up and kind of think about how fast I saw it and time it. So it probably went across the sky going 8 seconds, and it
Well,
wasn't low, it was high. When you know how when you see a plane very high,
yeah,
in a plane, okay, say a 707 or something, they're going what, 650, 700 miles an hour, 550, 600 miles an hour up there, and they're pretty fucking high. Well, they don't truck
yeah,
across, they don't truck across the sky in 8 seconds.
no,
That was very fast, and I that's the one of the more interesting things I've seen in a long time, and so I was really surprised because I look up all the time. I've been trying to see the Starlink things of the satellites, so I haven't seen them
yeah.
yet. I keep forgetting and not.
That's what I was gonna say. You didn't see that. You didn't see
No, no,
Elon
no, no,
Musk
no, no, no. It was Elon Musk himself in a little capsule.
himself.
A little capsule. I could see his face
He
peering down at me.
it was the advertising brain chips.
Musk. Man, I don't know about that guy.
Hey, he's got a big launch coming up though for his whatever he's doing. I forgot.
He's launching his baby into outer space. He's going to launch his new child into outer space. They named They named their child what? Dash plus sign
Like
lesser
X,
than X.
E12 multiplied by
Nice.
10.
It'll be very hard to crack his password. Wow.
Excuse me.
So yeah, I mean that's a crazy UFO sighting that I saw. I'm gonna go to via Dave Davenport, Peter Davenport's website, and I'm gonna look at the National UFO Reporting Center report database and see what's going on. Let's go by. What do you say, Brian? You want to go by date or by state?
Let's go by state. Let's see what's happening.
Let's see what's happening in Tennessee.
Yeah, let's see what's happening in
Okay,
volunteer state, because we volunteer for everything constantly.
We're going to volunteer for vaccine, for the brain chip vaccine. This is the last one in Tennessee. Was 4/2/20. Oh, this sounds like Starlink. 5 minutes. This is Starlink. There was a group of 6 to 7 lights that sped across a great distance. And it does say Starlink satellites, maybe.
Yeah.
3/26/20. This is in the shape was a circle. 10 minutes. There were 4 red objects in the sky forming weird shapes. That was just the shit he was smoking. 3/19/20. This is a triangle. Always interested in the triangle ones. As I was driving home, I noticed a much bigger flying object than I've ever noticed, which is why it caught my eye. It looked like a giant triangle. So I'm going to go back to date and see what the latest. I want to see what the latest event date. Let's go to 5/15 was the last one. Indore City, India. Indore City, India. 60 seconds. Seen a bright spot traveling from east to north, but slightly larger than the size and lower altitude. Those bad English. City, Wellborn. I don't know where. Here's a triangle. Here's 2 triangles, both on the 14th. One Wellborn, one Black River Falls. I don't know. Wisconsin. Wellborn, Florida. Black River Falls, Wisconsin. First triangle is Florida. 5 minutes. Large, bright, triangular, slow-moving objects south to north. Then course change east. No sound or strobe. Interesting. The Black River Falls, Wisconsin, was another triangle, and it was 2 minutes. It was on the same date, mind you. 2 minutes. Orange triangular aircraft. Orange triangular craft followed by military jet. Interesting. How many of these do you think are real, or just people calling to fuck with?
Man, yeah, that's the problem. I mean, you can't trust people.
I know.
That's the whole thing, especially these days with having something like that.
Well, I saw what I saw. I don't know what it was. I'm not going to say it was a UFO, but it was definitely hauling ass. And speaking of clips of weird stuff hauling ass, there is a video that was released by the military, and it's not the one you've been seeing. It's if you go to CNN and just look up Pentagon officially releases UFO videos. There's one. It's the Fast Mover. Look up Fast Mover.
Is that
video.
the 2004?
I think
there's two of them.
I think there's a
2017 also.
No, this is the 2004. It's F-18 Super Hornet, I believe.
Yeah, that's the 2004.
Yeah, it's called. Look up Fast Mover UFO if you guys want to, and check that out. It's very impressive because it's something flying very fast across. It's like almost missile speed, but it's not exactly. It's I'm not sure if it's supersonic, but it is hauling ass. And
it's
F-18 locked onto it. It was very small. You can't really tell. It looked like it could be a missile of some sort, some kind of maybe a cruise missile, but it was super fast. But it was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
They locked onto it. The thing that I enjoyed the best of that video was whoever did it. I think it might have been CNN. Did the video, but it showed, it had the screen from the F-18 gun camera or the sighting system, and it stopped and it showed you what everything meant on the screen. So that was pretty cool. But that thing.
Yeah, that guy was on. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast. The pilot.
Yeah.
Not the pilot who recorded it, but he was the commanding, the commander, flight commander. Saw it.
Yeah.
He saw it first. Him and his wingman, the other pilot. So two pilots saw it first. Then they came back, and then the third plane went out, and it had the targeting sensors on it, and it caught it on film.
That's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty good
it's
footage.
pretty, yeah. They said there was something in the water, in the ocean. That's what they caught their eye first.
Yeah.
And it looks like they said it was a T-shaped object under the ocean. They could see it, see the water pushing up or bubbling up from it. And then the other craft was doing all these crazy maneuvers over it, supposedly.
Well, I mean, if you were extraterrestrial, where would you hide? Where would be the best place to hide? The ocean.
The ocean's got plenty of room,
Hell yeah.
And in water, space, whatever, it's all the same to a craft like that.
And that's true because
it doesn't
some
matter.
kind of, right. I mean, there's less resistance in space, but still, that's right. You're right. It's got to be atmosphere tight. Either way it goes. But yeah, and also, aliens would love good seawater. Anything that water is the source of all life throughout the universe, as far as we can tell. Without water, I don't believe there is any way to have a life form. That we know of.
Yeah, that was. They said it was Tic Tac shaped. Like the candy, I guess.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying.
And that's what it looked like. It would look like it was just zooming, man. It looked like a little. It was hauling ass.
A solid, just white light. I just it's kind of weird the government starts to come out with these things at this point in time. I mean, and they only admit that this footage is real. There's no other ones that they've come out with and
Well,
admitted
that
on.
could tell you one of two things.
Yeah,
It could either kind of prove one side of that. Well, they're just giving us this little bit, so we'll all shut up and maybe this is I don't know. But the other hand could be that this is what really the most crazy stuff that they found so far that they don't think is a they won't show any kind of tricks of the trade from the military end of it. But
yeah.
and that,
I think the pyramid. I mean the pyramid shape or the triangular shape. I think that's a military.
totally,
I think I really think it is.
I think so too.
I think it's just another form of what's it the stealth bomber.
I think so too, and it's probably the stealth drone.
That's what I think it is.
I mean, because they're still. I mean, they're people don't realize that there's so many things that were designed in the 70s and 80s are still being used today in the military. That's how far ahead. I mean, things are being designed now that won't
Yeah.
be in service for 20 or a decade or 13 years or a decade. Things are probably accelerated some with computer aided design and supercomputers and stuff like that. But I'm sure the development is faster now. But still, you got to always think that there's a decade of stuff that we haven't seen. There's decades of advanced military stuff that we don't know. I mean, that we have an inkling about, but we don't really understand the technology is going.
Well, Bob Lazar claims we where we've been trying to reverse engineer some of that stuff
Yeah,
and that alien technology. Of course, everybody. I'm stating the obvious. Most people know about him,
yeah.
but I think
John Lear's
maybe that's possible.
John Lear's buddy.
I think maybe I don't know how adept we are at reverse engineering that, but I think we maybe gotten something from that, little bits and pieces of helpful information or ideas.
Yeah, I mean it's possible, but if the thing is, the only problem I have with that, unless we just can't crack it at all, if we got stuff in there and we can't crack it, would be very surprising to me, because humans are pretty good at figuring shit out to our own disadvantage. Sometimes we're just too smart for our own good. Sometimes. Anyway, I think if we did have that, it would be showing up, and it would have been showed. It would have been that craft is supposed to have been around, or supposed to have been had by the military since at least the 60s, right?
Yeah, or the 40s actually.
Yeah. Okay. So the 40s,
1940s,
right?
1947.
Right. Everything that was an advancement back then was a natural progression from rocket and jet propulsion as far as military aircraft, and even helicopters were still jet turbo fan engines anyway with a prop. But so I mean we're still using, and now they've become more and more advanced and more efficient, and now we have something we have for a long time, but it's gotten more advanced now. It's something called thrust vectoring nozzles at the end of jet engines. Where I'm getting at is there's no magical propulsion. There hasn't been a propulsion breakthrough. There hasn't been any propulsion breakthroughs in quite a while, unless they're working on it now and have been working on it for the last 60 years, and they haven't thrown anything out yet. But propulsion, except for like the supersonic missiles they've been talking about, is something called like a ramjet engine, where what it does is it gets up to enough speeds to where it just vaporizes. It's such a it compresses. It's going so fast that just oxygen being compressed through it
Yeah.
is the fuel. So it just can
Yeah.
fly for as long as it can fly for as long as it's got power in its brain to guide it.
Huh.
So that's some. I mean, that's the only, and that's just a natural
Well,
progression from a jet engine. So
logically, any advancement in that propulsion would be secret. They wouldn't let that out
well,
until it's
sure,
the last possible moment. That,
sure. But what I'm getting at is we're the United States has the we've had we're pretty much got the most advanced aircraft, fighter aircraft, and pretty new stuff. The latest versions of the fighter aircraft we have, the YF-22 and the whatever the hell it is, but they're still using jet engines, man.
yeah.
Still using jet engines. But they can but materials are been a natural progression with materials as well. So there hasn't been anything magical that I've seen, but that doesn't mean it's not in development now or has been somewhere. But I just it doesn't. And plus, didn't they come up? Didn't they kind of? I mean, the element he was talking about that was kind of the
Element 115.
yeah.
One.
So wasn't that what they needed to make it work, and they didn't have it or something? Or
That's right.
yeah. I always thought that was a very interesting story. He seemed credible, but I don't know. There's some weird things about his. He said he said he was at places. He said he went to school at places, and they don't have records of it. And you know what? If you're a scientist working on some secret shit, they don't erase your fucking college records, and they don't erase your fucking work record.
Well, there's been people that corroborated his story, as in that they did know him from some of the schools.
Well, no, he did. I think they got. He did work at. I think he did work there, but I think he at the school he didn't. I don't think he did what he said he. I don't understand. I don't know the real story, but there was some discrepancies. Put it that way. And he said that they wiped out his record because
it's possible.
Yeah, but I don't know, man.
But I mean, that is a little bit crazy. That they would do a lot more than that.
Yeah, if they thought he was talking and this was for real, he would disappear.
Who knows, man?
People think that's not real. That's realer than any of this shit.
Oh, I'm not saying. I mean, I know they could make him disappear.
A lot more that went on over the last.
Definitely.
I mean, it's probably slowed down over the years, unless you're in the Taliban or something, and you get nuked by a drone overhead while you're herding your goats or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens all the time. But pretty much,
Yeah.
United States citizens being disappeared over secrets has happened, and it probably didn't happen a lot, but I guarantee you during the Cold War it happened. Guarantee it.
Hey, maybe you go in for a hike in the woods one day and you just disappear, though.
That's what Bigfoots were engineered to do.
That's what I'm saying.
Snap you up and snap you in half, snap you into a Slim Jim, turn you into a Slim Jim. No, but I mean, I don't know. I think we're working on some advanced stuff, but I'm not quite sure about the UFO technologies. It seems like we've been showing up something more. I mean, we're still using. We're starting to use particle weapons, but that's also been a very natural progression. If you look at the science throughout, since lasers have been invented, or people started working with lasers in the 30s, 40s, or whatever. Prisms before that, light, always been working through the light throughout the ages. While they glass, while they reflect shit, people have been working with light. So that's just a particle weapons that we're using now. Now we're using the magnetic. Jesus, what was that?
We had a glitch in the Matrix.
Holy crap. Rail guns. That's magnetic. That's just a big magnetic throwing some metal down at supersonic speeds. Just the kinetic
Yeah.
impact.
What about
It
the
doesn't
microwave weapons? What do you think?
Yeah, those are great.
Think-
You can turn somebody into pudding. Cook them from the inside out. The sonic weapons are great too. They vibrate your organs.
Yeah. Can't fight that. You can't fight the
Make you.
microwave. What
ma-
about the
it'll make you-
holographic
It'll make
weapons?
you. It'll make you do brown in your pants.
You believe the? I don't. And do you believe it about the holograms? That could actually be used against Americans or anyone that they want to make believe. That. Just say they want to make you believe aliens are real. They can project.
Yeah, well, the last hologram technology I've seen is not very impressive yet, so I just have to see it to believe it. Have you seen the Whitney Houston hologram tour?
I haven't. I have not seen that. I'm sure I'm missing out.
Maybe. Hey, Whitney Houston was kind of cool. The holograms mixed emotions, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, you know. So I'm just saying everything seems like a natural progression as far as technology is going, even computers. I mean, look at the new quantum computing. It's just a natural superconductor, natural progression, a natural jump, it seems to me. Sorry to be such a downer about it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they could be picking shit apart from something from 40 years ago, but it sure seems like some things might have seeped in. I've heard people say, well, fiber optics and carbon fiber. No, it's a natural progression as well.
Well, we have had a pretty rapid progression. You got to admit that since
computers.
Yeah, I mean since the first.
Well, I mean computers did the
break of technology.
Computers did the you got to remember, people were designed. The things that were designed in the 70s were just starting. I'm talking about military hardware. Were just starting to be done on computing. I mean, they were doing computers before then, but these were punch cards and reel to reel. I mean, these were big. I mean, they were actually doing punch cards. And for the most part, engineers, electronic engineers, mechanical engineers, everything was done on slide rule.
Yeah.
And like say an F-16 or a Tomahawk cruise missile, a lot of that stuff started with engineers with slide rules, buddy. And they are still being used today. Now the avionics and electronics have been updated in them, but those same weapon systems are still being used. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So that's the only reason I don't think there's a lot of alien technology going on. I think it'd be great. I hope, but it also could be a nightmare.
Yeah.
In the hands of somebody, get one of those. You remember that was a great movie. What was it? Damn it, South Africa and the aliens. They came and remember? They were like bugs. They called them prawns.
Oh, you talking about Starship Troopers?
No. This is a way better movie. It was a newer movie. The dudes at
District 9?
District 9. Damn, my brain's a piece of shit. Yeah, District 9. Those weapons. Just think if we had some stuff like that.
Yeah, I like it. I'd like to have one.
Yeah, I mean, I would too, myself. But I'm glad there's not, or would there just be body parts everywhere? Welcome to the shittiest show on the internet, folks. Hey, we got 50,
a lot of work.
52, yeah, that's right. We got 52 new subscribers somehow since the quarantine started.
Hey, I just wondered when they're gonna add the unsub button.
Oh, wait a minute.
I mean the unsub subscribe.
Unsub.
That's the button I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised anybody listens to us at all. It seems like the show's been going on for 3 hours and we've only been on here for 39 minutes. That should tell you right now what hey, I got something interesting as I'm smoking this medication. America's first UFO sighting. When do you think that was?
Oh, I know that one.
What was it?
That would have been Christopher Columbus.
Nope.
Nope. Well, you can't say that's That's before
this is
America was established, but it's in conjunction with the.
Well, check this
America
out.
thing.
Check this out. On March 1st, 1639, John Winthrop opened his diary in which he recorded the trials and triumphs of his fellow Puritans as they made a new life in America. As the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony put pen to paper, he began to recount a most unusual event that had recently caused a stir among the English immigrants. Winthrop wrote that earlier in the year, James Everell, a sober, discreet man, and 2 others had been rowing a boat in the muddy river which flowed through the swampland and emptied into the tidal basin in the Charles River, when they saw a great light in the sky. When it stood still, it flamed up and was about 3 yards square, the governor reported. When it ran, it was contracted into a figure of a swine. That's bizarre. Okay, check this out. When it stood still, it flamed up and was about 3 yards square, the governor reported. When it ran, it was contracted into the figure of a swine. It turned from flame to pig. So what if it was just a pig on fire? Was it in the sky?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. No, it was in the night sky. This was in the night sky. What were the Indians trading? Were the Indians giving them weed? These are the pilgrims. Over the course of 2 or 3 hours, the boatman said that the mysterious light ran as swift as an arrow, darting back and forth between them and the village of Charlestown, a distance of approximately 2 miles. Diverse other credible persons saw the same light. After about the same place, Winthrop added. And then it goes on to say, the governor wrote that when the strange apparition finally faded away, the 3 Puritans in the boat were stunned to find themselves on one mile upstream, as if the light had transported them there. The men had no memory of other rowing against the tide, although it's possible they could have been carried by the wind or reverse tidal flow. The mysterious repositioning of the boat could suggest that they were unaware of part of their experience. Jesus. Some researchers, I think I'm having a stroke. Some researchers would interpret this as a possible alien abduction if it happened today. Well, you got that right. As Jacques Vallée and Chris Abeck, they sound Canadian, definitely French, Canadian something, in Wonders in the Sky, explained aerial objects from antiquity to modern times. That's very interesting. That was pretty damn interesting, if I must say so myself.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know what to say about that.
Scout, yeah. 1952.
But there was the Christopher Columbus one, right?
Christopher Columbus was an alien?
No, I mean he had a sighting. There's something supposedly he wrote, and you can look it up, where he's talking about seeing something in the sky and etc.
Etc.
Yeah, you get the point.
That's what it says in
Hey.
Project Blue Book. That's the entry in Project Blue Book. That's what it says. It says Christopher Columbus. Yeah, he saw something in the sky, etc., etc.
That's
Use your imagination. Out.
yeah.
Unsub.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it says in the at the beginning of Project Blue Book.
You know what year Project Blue Book came out?
I can't recall that at this point.
The Summer of Love. 1969. What do you? You hear a dog growling?
I did hear that.
What are you growling at, Lola? Lola.
How many unsubs are you gonna get tonight?
I'm working on 3. We have 1,053 subscribers, I think.
And we lost 3 tonight.
Oh, we're working on it. We're definitely working on it because this is some action-packed shit. And I just throwing up there. People are just listening to it because I just have the screen. If you're not watching the show yourself, Brian, I just have a screen popped up. But I can.
Yeah, I see the screen.
Well, I'm thinking, watch this. I can do
there's
this.
There's 2 watching, and it's us.
Hey! Actually, I'm not watching, so somebody else is watching. There's three current viewers, and one of them is not me. I'm just looking at the back. I'm looking at the streaming back end of YouTube. I can't see the chat. I don't think that shows me who's watching, I wouldn't think. See it now? Look at the... Oh, did you see it? If you blinked, you missed it. I changed screens. I'll do it again.
It's amazing.
Is it?
It's just like...
Watch this. Look what I can do.
Awesome.
Look what I can do. Look what I can do. Hey. Oh. Yeah.
What do you... so what's the most realistic abduction scenario? Or
well, you know that was it Bill and Billy Bob's I'm hearing an echo,
Yeah.
echo.
Yeah,
the married couple back in the
yes.
I interviewed their
1961
Bob
September.
and Betty. What was it?
Betty and Barney Hill.
Yes, I interviewed Kathleen Martin. She'd been on Mark Bella before, and she was like the big historian about it. I think if she's somehow related to them, maybe a niece or something. But it's a pretty credible story because back then you really didn't want to draw attention to yourselves being an interracial couple.
Yeah, I can understand.
And they never changed their story.
That's right.
So, unless maybe they had great imaginations. Hey, they stuck together till the end. So good on them either way, right? Good on them either way. If it was a great story or if it was real, hey.
Right. That may be the first account of Gray's. That's what's in her description, or in their description. Gray beings with large eyes that walked them into a metallic disc.
And what year was that?
It was wide as their house was long.
What year was that again?
1961.
Yeah. So what year was Roswell? 1940.
47.
Yeah.
So they had two
Now,
hours of missing time and only in.
what I was getting at, there were already discs, metal discs from movies and things. I think till before then. So that disc and but the gray aliens, I think that would be a new spin on it that they saw, right?
Well, yeah. Well, people are, there's still the oblong shapes and disc shapes that
Right.
are seen.
A
So
lot of cigar shapes. Yeah.
just that shape in general, the kind of oval cigar, whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's the first one I ever saw as a kid was an oval cigar shape, and funny thing, it was kind of orangey red too, and it was off the coast of San Diego. I don't know how high it was or how far it was away, but it was going just from north to south on Sunset Cliffs at night. It was. I'm trying to think. It was. It seemed way, way far away, but it was. Usually, everything has flashing lights, even military aircraft. Everything
That's
usually
right.
has flashing lights at night. Has a strobe.
And
Um,
that's one reason I think the triangular are different, definitely military, but
right,
because there's always lights on the plane, and a lot of times a flashing light of some sort.
right. Corner lights. Yep. But I mean, I think there's you can also there's also aircraft where you can kill the lights, of course.
Yeah, and they do that.
But it's not. It's that's. I mean, you if you're killing lights, you're going in or something. Something is you're in war mode. So I
Yeah.
mean, unless you're you usually probably wouldn't. I don't know if you're with multiple aircraft, you probably wouldn't do that on maneuvers. I don't
I
know.
would say since they're piloting out those craft anyway that are super secret,
Oh yeah, I think
that
they're going pilotless for sure.
yeah, then they're off the radar anyway. They're off everything
Right.
once they do whatever they do.
Yep. I remember during with the first Iraq War.
But I believe the Betty and Barney always when I was a kid reading that story, I thought it was
Credible.
believable. I was a kid, of course, but I remember reading that when I used to get the books on UFOs from the library all the time, like the UFO books, Bigfoot books.
I mean,
I remember the
yeah,
Betty and Barney Hill story.
yeah, yeah. I think probably the first time I ever heard that was on the Art Bell show. Probably it might have been her telling it.
Yeah.
She's been around a long time. I'm surprised she
The
doesn't.
Travis Walton, I believe that one. I believe
Yeah, that one
something
seems
happened with
pretty.
those guys.
Yeah, it seems like it.
His story's pretty crazy when you listen to all of it, especially these days when he goes into all the extra details. And maybe he was telling all those details all along, and we just never heard all of them. But it's pretty nuts.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah, they added stuff in the movie that is a little bit different than what he tells, and he says that they kind of embellished a few things in the Fire from the Sky
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. They Hollywoodize everything. Hey, did you see that? That thing I sent you on They Live the other night.
Oh, yeah,
Well, he did one for the
yeah,
thing, and he cuts up to all the like gross things. All the creatures in the thing. It's so gross. That's one of the grossest, most disgusting, creepiest, skin crawling shit I've. The Thing, man. John
yeah. The
Carpenter's.
Thing
Go
for
look at the
sure.
original. Just go look at all the effects, all the horrible horror. Oh God, to scar a
Well,
child,
they're actually.
scarred my brain.
You'll probably be disappointed to know that they're about to
Remaking it
come out with a
again.
new version of that.
Well,
It's just, I guess it's going to be Who Goes There. The You would call it a novella, a short
uh,
story, because they have the full story now pulled out from the guy John W. Campbell, the guy who wrote it, his archives. They
right.
pulled out the finished, complete story.
Well, it could be good, and it could really suck. So hopefully it'll be
Yeah.
good. I mean,
Well,
I root for anything.
he shortened it for a magazine. I don't
Yeah,
know if you
I saw.
knew that.
I watched the dude did one of those retrospectives on this, and he does good jobs on those. And he yeah, I mean they showed where that whole story came from and everything like that. It was pretty interesting. But
So I
yeah,
think they're going to
yeah
do a movie with kind of a different take on it. I guess right in line with that story.
yeah.
Carpenter added things, and it's it's awesome. That's probably my favorite movie, or one of them.
It's definitely on the top of the list as far as that genre of.
But I think if they could,
As far as John Carpenter movie for sure, it's at the top. It's top three.
if they could do a whole different take on that, and not even try to touch the way the original's done, and just base it straight off the story.
I hope they use
Just,
It'd be great if they did all practical effects again, just new technology practical. A good mix, just the right mix of practical and digital effects would be nice to see.
if they do it the way they did Dawn of the Dead, the 2004 Dawn of the Dead,
Yeah,
I kind of like that movie for a remake. It's not exactly a remake. It's just got some of the original ideas, and I can live with that type of remake. I guess reimagining.
yeah, that was a good. I thought that was a pretty good one too, man. It's a pretty good, better than all the other ones that were coming around.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of knockoff titles of the George Romero franchise.
Yeah,
Night of the Living Dead 3D. It's pretty horrible. Day of the Dead 2, Contagion. Horrible.
yeah, that's for sure. There's a lot of horrible movies, but luckily there's a lot of good ones, man. There's a lot of good ones. I just have. It's really hard for me to start watching anything, man. Good lord. I wish my
Well,
taste weren't so. I wish I wasn't such a television snob. I'd have more shit to watch, but I just can't take it. Everything seems so dumbed down.
yeah, if the story's not paced out, I just can't deal with it these days. I'll just get out. I'll just
Yeah,
turn it off.
yeah,
The
and
story, if it doesn't kick in and start
yeah, and I think I might have
gaining
multiple.
my interest really quick.
Yeah. Plus, I think I have multiple personality disorder or some kind of emotional problem. So where, uh, so when I'll look at through a menu and just be
Yeah.
okay, look at something 1 second and say, "Oh, I'm really interested in that. I'm going to watch that," and then my brain jumps to something else real quick, and then I think back onto what I'm watching, and I'm like, not interested in that anymore.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
yeah.
Is that some kind of brain
I
malfunction?
usually
It's a
I will scan everything on whatever app I'm on, Netflix, whatever, Amazon, for an hour, and then find something to watch, and then it pisses me off because it's boring.
Where do
So
you
I just
primarily? This
turn
is
it
a
off.
survey. This is a survey. Where do you primarily watch most of your television?
Where?
On a handheld device, on a television, on a mobile device, on a aquarium,
I like watching it on a TV,
television. Okay.
on a large screen.
Yes. Okay.
If I
Good.
have my choice.
Right. No, I was just wondering. A lot of people are watching it on tiny screens. I can't take it.
I mean, I can. It's just not preferable.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't know. I thought there was going to be some kind of outcome that I was
I was
answering.
there was some
squid.
kind of punchline.
It's just another reason to unsub.
Hey, wait a minute. Unsub. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, if you're now just coming across one of the 50 people that actually watch the show in some regularity, hilarity. Thanks. We appreciate your listening to us. I guess, would you listen to us, Brian?
Hell no.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You would if they were playing your music.
No, I might. I mean, there's always room for improvement.
Escape from Tennessee. What were you on when you wrote that? Brian?
Oh, I was just being normal, man, when I wrote that. Just normal me.
Well, that
music.
Wait a minute, hold on. Unsub. It's a good track. You did a really good mix on that, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
Probably can't hear it through this very good because I'm running Brian and the music. I got a microphone directed right at a speaker.
That's the best way to do it.
Right, running through the board.
It's ultra professional.
Ultra
5,000.
Ultra. Man.
Yeah.
We suck. Hey, Brian.
Hey, man. You want to
kill ourselves? Hey, we could we just two people just unconnected for real. I just saw it. Current users. There was like, 4.
What the hell's
there
going
was
on?
4.
Music starting all of a sudden.
Yeah, there was just no segue. I just went into it. What?
It's completely professional.
Oh yeah, Brian Kirk.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk. The bass in this is pretty good. Can you hear the bass rattling my desk? Because I got the sub cranked underneath. Wes Henley gave me a Shure Rubicon powered sub. You have to set it right or it gets warm and it cuts off. You have to set it just right. There's a gain in the back, and then there's got push buttons in the front, or you can, and it's got a meter. You know where you red line it. If you tap it down right before it red lines,
Oh, yeah.
and then and you turn the frequency, I believe, on the back, the knob all the way up, and it won't cut out. But the sub in this WoW music's pretty good.
It's good, man.
It's hitting, man. I need to drive through downtown Jackson with some subs and play it.
Kind of just makes me want to be in a Chrysler 300.
Yeah.
Right.
Full of subs.
Bumping that hard.
With big old 32-inch rim spinners. like they have the car shows in Atlanta and Memphis.
I'd really rather have a Caprice Classic.
Caprice Classic.
On 20s.
You can throw a lot of subs in a Pacer. A lot of subs will fit in the Pacer. You'll vibrate the glass out of it. Or a Gremlin. What about a Gremlin?
Hey,
have you ever heard of a Ford Capri? I think it was a Ford. It was kind of a little.
Yeah.
It was a coupe, a little Ford coupe. It was a friend of mine. All my friends in San Diego were older than me by 5-6 years. Right? I was like 11 and 12, and they were like 16 and 17.
Yeah.
18, 19. Well, Tim, he lived a couple blocks over. Scott and Tim were like my neighborhood friends. Like Scott was 16 and Tim was maybe 19. He was older. But anyway, Tim had a car. He had a Capri. He had a Capri, and there's a street, Point Loma Avenue. It's a giant hill, right? But okay, and there's streets going horizontally. Okay, you're going up this hill, but there's streets crossing the hill. You know what I'm talking about? There's cross streets. But where the cross streets are, it kind of levels out. Okay? So you're going up a hill, then it levels out. Then it's a cross street. Then it starts going up a hill again. Level out. Hill. Level out. Hill. Level out. I would be sitting in that son of a bitch strapped in at night.
Yeah.
And we'd start at the top of Point Loma Avenue. And fly down it, and when you hit those spots, we would fly halfway down the hill, and then hit the flat spot again, and fly halfway down the hill before we touched the ground. I'd probably sit there 3 times. We probably did 3 times. I was laughing. I remember you'd be weightless. Holy shit! That's incredible.
You never wrecked?
Never. Well, obviously, no.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? Also, he built a fiberglass VW. It was like all fiberglass except for all the fenders were fiberglass, and it was all kind of tricked out. It was a little sand buggy, and we take it down to the beach in these big pits. And the whole back of it was like a giant gas tank. I remember sitting on that, hanging onto the roll bars inside of it, and just dangling out of that thing just from they were going up hills and shit in the sand. I'll never wreck that either.
Crazy.
I had a lot of fun. They were crazy. They were crazy. But yeah, jumping those hills, man, that was a crazy shit. I can see it. I can see. I remember laughing my head off and being scared to death and just laughing, but also being alive as fuck.
Yeah, well, that's what you do when you're young and stupid.
Yeah, I was definitely wasn't scared.
Okay.
I wasn't scared. That's why I had so many. I had a lot of. I mean, I had a lot of. Not a lot, but I broke a leg, cut my. I had some cuts and bruises and torn ligaments and a broken leg. By the time I was 12, 13, I think I was 12 when I broke my leg, maybe. So yeah, I was probably should have been a lot more scared than I was. I've been
Well,
scared.
when you're young, you just don't think about that, though.
Yeah. Well, you do when you're about to die, but then it goes away real quick. Because I mean, there's all kinds of times I've been scared shitless in the ocean, thinking, "Oh shit, this is it."
Yeah, I don't go in the ocean. I don't go in the water.
No.
No.
Loved it. It was pretty much daily. Certain times of the year. Most of the year, actually. The only time was actually I liked being at the beach when it rained. That was always cool because it didn't rain a lot. Like here, it rains every day. It's like living in Ireland the last 2 years in Tennessee.
Man. Yep. Did you hear about this guy lassoing a loose tiger in the street in a Mexican suburb?
Of course.
Did you see that video?
I mean, No, I didn't. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, May 15th.
Well,
it says a surprise witness on a street in Mexico captured a video of a loose tiger being lassoed by a man wearing a cowboy hat.
Hell yeah. Yee-haw.
Yeah.
Nice.
In a suburb of Guadalajara.
Yeah.
Jalisco.
Guadalajara.
Yeah. Shows
Nice.
the tiger walking loose down a sidewalk while 3 men chase the large animal, and the guy in the cowboy hat lassos him.
Right on.
And pull. Yep. It's just a private pet, apparently.
Yeah, I would imagine wild cat, exotic animal rules in Mexico are probably a little more lax than United States.
But I didn't know you could lasso a tiger, though.
You can lasso anything. It doesn't.
A thing that would happen.
Well, I mean, you can lasso anything with a neck and a head. And legs.
I mean, I guess.
Legs. I mean, you can do. Sometimes you lasso the legs. Sometimes you lasso the neck. Like, you ever seen like a rodeo?
Ben Stiller movie.
No joke. It does sound like a Ben Stiller movie. Somebody get a tiger claw in the ass.
Can you go lasso that tiger?
What's up, Brian? Hey,
Brian. Man wins $200,000 on his way to a job interview.
Did he turn around?
May 18th, a North Carolina man who made a stop on his way to a job interview discovered it was his lucky day when he won a $200,000 ticket.
Man.
And an ad popped up and blocked the story, so I can't read the rest of it. But that's the basics.
I don't think I'd go to the interview. Maybe I would, depending on the job. But if it was
it was a scratch-off ticket.
Yeah, if it was a
and
Burger Barn or something interview,
Smithfield, North Carolina.
Good for him.
A $5 Emerald Green AIDS ticket.
AIDS ticket?
Apes. Emerald Green Apes. Like number 8.
Oh, gotcha.
I
went from AIDS to apes, and then I said apes.
This is what he said. This is his quotes. I was happy. Couldn't believe it.
No shit.
It was not known yet whether he got the job.
Man, I've never been much of a player of the old lottery and stuff. Have you?
No, not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, alleged thieves wore watermelons over their heads in a grocery store robbery.
Did they hollow them out and just make watermelon masks? I guess you could make two with one watermelon, right? You cut it in half, and then you
There's
hollow it out,
video
and you
of
got
it.
two helmets. Hey, they should give them a little. They should get them a reduced sentence for creativity.
The Louisa Police Department said two men wearing hollowed out watermelons as masks stole undisclosed items from a Sheetz grocery store about 9:25 p.m. May 6th, and they fled in a lifted 2006 black Toyota Tacoma.
Lifted.
That's pretty much the gist of it. But there is a video you can find if you want to see homemade watermelon masks.
Look up homemade watermelon masks, folks. We'd show it on the show, but YouTube would tell us that they don't love us anymore.
Well, they hate us. You know.
Here's a little song. You guys want to listen to this for a second? Uh,
Unsub.
Unsub. On that note, I'm going to believe I'm going to call it a night.
Yeah, I think it was another successful
We didn't stop.
show, and we didn't quit. We didn't give up. There's only one shot, one opportunity.
Well, I appreciate you doing the show. I know you're tired. I was glad we did it. I'm glad we did it. So, on that note, folks, we're gonna let you go, and Brian, I'll talk to you next day or so.
Yep.
Adios, my friend.
Peace
And,
out.
Take it easy, folks. Another show in the can. Good night. Thanks, everybody, watching and listening. I appreciate it. Good night.